Welcome to the underground, you rebel scum. This is the American Expat. So I wanted to start with this little anecdote from when I was a kid. I remember back then, of course, he was still alive. Saddam Hussein would be on the news all the time, and every time they showed him over there in Iraq, he would be surrounded by these crowds of people cheering and just so happy that he happened to be there. And I remember as a little kid thinking, like, I thought that he is some kind of scary dictator. Isn't he the guy that, drops people into, he was supposed to be a really bad guy, really scary guy, yet he's surrounded by crowds of cheering people. Is it because they're scared of him, so they go out and pretend in this way? What's going on here? And my dad explained it to me that it's the framing. It's to make it look like he's surrounded by crowds of people. But if you were to actually look beyond the little area where the camera is looking, the crowd isn't really that big. I mean, let's face it, a dictator like Saddam Hussein isn't going to let some random mob of people around him. He's too paranoid. But he needed it to appear as though he had the popular support of the people. So anyone who was looking at this situation and saying, boy, I really don't like being, living in this place under this guy, well, they would be too scared. They'd think that they were in the minority and they wouldn't talk to anybody. They wouldn't organize. Well, very similar to that, I think that we have been misled about what is really taking place in Los Angeles, and it might not be quite what you think that it is. Anyway, let's grab a cup of coffee and I'll explain my thinking. Normally, this would be the part where I'm like, ooh, why don't you like and subscribe and share with your friends? You can do that if you want, but more than anything, I'd like to hear what you think about what we're trying to say here. Do you think that I'm right? I think that I'm right. You let me know what you think. Anyway, let me explain this. So I was looking at the protests, and of course, yesterday I made a video talking about how disturbing this is to see this taking place. And I thought about that little story with Saddam Hussein, and I thought, how big is this protest actually? So I looked it up, and it's estimated to be about 1,000 people. Now, I know that's a lot of people, but when you compare it to the actual population of the city of Los Angeles, the area, the metro area, it's quite insignificant. And it's limited to the area of the federal building there. I'm like, okay, so I was under the impression that Los Angeles was, brought to a, gridlock. It was in a totally stopped, total chaos, people burning things everywhere. And that's not the case. That's not even remotely the case. Now, both sides in the media have kind of hyped this up because of their side, There, you have the people in the mainstream media saying, the peaceful protests, and they want it to look really, really big. And you have the people on the other side kind of doing the same thing for other reasons. But the main one is the peaceful protests and showing it to be this enormous movement. And I think that the reason behind that is to make people like you and me feel like we're in the minority, like the popular... The big group of people, the biggest group, support stopping ICE and stopping the deportations. But it's not true. It was limited. If you were to go beyond like maybe a block or two over in Los Angeles, then you would find that life was going about as usual. I mean, as normal as life in Los Angeles is these days. But there wouldn't be cars. Well, there might be cars burning for other reasons, not because of the protest. But, things would be normal for Los Angeles, not the protest stuff. So it's limited to that area. It's about 1,000 people. A large portion of those people have probably come in from outside. They've either flown in or they've bussed in or whatever it is because they were told to come there for this this protest that was going to be taking place. The organized black-clothed people with masks and the vans that are bringing them stuff to smash things up and throwing Molotov cocktails. Anyway, it was limited to a small area. It wasn't a big thing, not as big as what they were leading you to believe. That's important to know because I don't know if you realize this, but the poll numbers for Donald Trump actually went up, specifically when related to immigration stuff. They went up during this event. So, let's not forget that Donald Trump won the popular vote. This is just a deception to make you feel like you're in the wrong, like you're not the majority, that the majority of people are against you and you're on the wrong side of history, when in reality, it's the other way around. So keep that in mind the next time you look on the news or see somebody talking on the internet here. that it's not as big as what they're showing it to be. I know that it spread supposedly in New York. There was some protests, like a dozen people or so got arrested. Not nearly as big as what you're seeing in Los Angeles. It's not what they're making it out to be. The majority of people do not support what is taking place there, and they would rather see the people being deported that are not supposed to be in the country. So there you have it. Just my thoughts on this. After actually looking into this, I think it's important to remember that. Don't be deceived by the propaganda machine, the narrative or whatever it is. They're lying to you. They're deceiving you. And it's really disturbing to see that taking place. I mean, it makes you wonder who their masters are. Who are they working for? Who wants us to believe this? Who wants us to believe that the majority of Americans support our country being invaded by a bunch of people that aren't supposed to be here, who would go and start setting things on fire and destroying everything? Who would want us to believe that the majority of people support chaos in the streets? I look back to what Gavin Newsom, because he's been on X, of course. Donald Trump had been asked by someone if he was going to arrest Gavin Newsom, and he joking, oh man, who should? Anyway, Gavin Newsom has been all over X like, oh my gosh, you can't do that. Of course, he's not going to arrest Gavin Newsom. That's absolutely ridiculous. There are probably people saying that he should, but totally ridiculous, never going to happen. But it did make me think, when our federal law enforcement people come in to enforce the law, they obstruct and they get in the way of that. But when foreign adversaries, the leaders of foreign adversaries like China, when they come to visit, they roll out the red carpet. They clean up the streets and they roll out the red carpet. Who are their real masters? Who are they really working for? It doesn't seem to be America. It doesn't seem to be the people of California. Of course, they would want you to believe that the people of California are all these people that aren't even supposed to be there, or somehow Mexico. But the reality is the majority of people probably don't support this, even in California. So I better leave it at that. I've got to get to things. You've got to get to things. Let me know what you think about it in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
ไฟพะวงหลงเฝ้าสาวเจ้าบางประกงทางห้วยงงหลงเกิน